Millionaire returns to his black ex-wife's home after 10 years, and what he sees leaves him in shock. 10 years had carved deep lines into Daniel Holt's face, but none were as sharp as the ones he felt cutting through his chest the moment he stood before the small, cream-painted bungalow. Daniel Holt never imagined that a simple wooden door could hold 10 years of memory hostage, yet as he stood before the chipped, cream-painted entrance of his ex-wife's home, every regret he buried rose like smoke in his chest. The air was still, too still, as if the neighborhood itself remembered the day he left. Back then, he had walked out with a suitcase, a cold heart, and a belief that success demanded sacrifice. Today, a millionaire with more money than peace, he stood trembling, hand inches from the bell he wasn't sure he had the right to touch. When he finally pressed it, the soft ding echoed like a scream inside him. Footsteps approached, light, steady, familiar. The door opened, and there she was, Elaine, his ex-wife, the woman he hadn't seen in 10 long, unforgiving years. Time had touched her gently, soft cheeks, warm brown skin that glowed in the porch light, hair wrapped in a simple scarf, eyes that remained the same deep, expressive pools he once drowned in. She looked surprised, but not afraid. Shocked, but not hurt. Just calm. "Daniel," she said, his name falling from her lips like a question and a statement combined. His throat tightened. He had practiced this moment for weeks, rehearsed his lines like a man preparing for trial. Yet now, standing in the doorway of the home he abandoned, everything vanished. All he had was silence. He tried. "Elaine, I'm back." Her brow lifted slightly. Back for what? He swallowed. Hard. To talk. To apologize. To see you. Behind her lay the living room, a warm, lived-in space with soft yellow curtains, a brown sofa, and family pictures arranged neatly on the walls. Family pictures with faces he didn't recognize. Children. A boy and a girl. His breath caught. So she had moved on. Built a family. Lived life without him. He deserved the sting. "Can I come in?" he asked quietly. A long pause. Then she stepped aside. The moment he crossed the threshold, the scent hit him. Lavender and something earthy and warm. The smell of comfort. Of home. Something he had traded for corporate boardrooms and cold penthouses. Elaine closed the door gently, stood a few steps away, arms loosely folded. "You look different," she said. "So do you," he replied. Silence drifted between them at first. Heavy, thick, but not hostile. She gestured toward the sofa. "You can sit." He lowered himself carefully, as if he feared breaking the furniture or the moment. She remained standing for a while, observing him, reading him, trying to decide what this visit meant. Finally, she spoke. "I never thought I'd see you again. I know. You made sure of that." He winced. "Yes, I did." Elaine exhaled slowly. "Why now, Daniel? Why 10 years later?" "Because I can't sleep. Because success feels empty. Because I'm alone. Because I never stopped loving you. Because I realized too late what mattered." He couldn't say any of that. Not yet. "I had to come back," he said instead. "Something happened. Something important." Her eyes narrowed slightly. Not in suspicion, but in preparation. She had always braced herself before hearing truths she didn't want but needed. "Daniel," she said softly, "I moved on." He nodded slowly. "I can see that." His gaze drifted again to the framed photos. A man was in one of them, tall, smiling, hand on Elaine's shoulder. Elaine followed his gaze. "That's Michael," she said. "My husband." A crack split through Daniel's chest. Not jealousy, remorse. "He seems like a good man," Daniel said. "He is." They exchanged a long look. A bittersweet one. Then Elaine spoke again, her voice steady. "So tell me, Daniel, what exactly did you come here to see?" Daniel inhaled, chest rising sharply. "The truth," he said. "And myself." "And you." "And the consequences of the choices I made." She blinked. For the first time, her expression softened, not with affection, but with something like understanding. Then sit, she said quietly, because the truth is longer than 10 years. And as the clock ticked softly from the mantel, Daniel realized. This was only the beginning. The living room felt smaller now that Daniel was inside it, as if the walls had quietly edged closer to listen. Elaine walked slowly to the single armchair across from him, lowering herself with a calmness that contradicted the storm brewing behind her eyes. She didn't cross her legs, didn't fold her arms. She simply sat, hands resting gently on her lap, waiting for him to speak. The ticking clock on the mantel was the third person in the room. It wasn't easy coming here, Daniel said finally. Elaine tilted her head. I imagine not, but leaving was easy. The words sliced through him. He didn't argue. Couldn't. She wasn't wrong. He clasped his hands tightly. I wasn't the man I should have been. I was so obsessed with becoming someone. He gestured vaguely, as if the air could define his ambition. I thought money would fix everything. That once I achieved success, everything I lost would magically come back. Elaine gave a soft, humorless laugh. That's not how life works, Daniel. I know that now, he whispered. Again, silence. But this one felt different, heavier, sharper, filled with everything he should have said a decade ago. Why didn't you call? She asked quietly. Not once. Not a birthday. Not on the anniversary of us. Nothing. Because I was ashamed. Because I didn't know how to face the damage I caused. Because I thought staying away was kinder. I thought reaching out would reopen wounds, he said instead. Elaine shook her head. Wounds don't close when someone runs. They close when someone tries. He swallowed. Hard. Her gaze drifted to his expensive suit, his gold cufflinks, the shine on his wristwatch. He looked like the world he left her for. Polished. Powerful. Untouchable. You look successful, she said. Not admiringly, just as a fact. I am, he confessed. But it didn't fix me. Her eyes flickered with something he couldn't read. Pity? Understanding? Disappointment? He leaned forward. Elaine, I didn't come here to destroy your peace. Then what did you come for? He inhaled deeply. It was time. There's something I need to tell you. Something about why I left. Elaine's posture shifted slightly, not much, just enough to show she braced herself. I didn't leave because I stopped loving you, he said. Her lips parted, but no sound came. I left because I was scared. Scared of what? Of failing you. She blinked, stunned. That wasn't the answer she expected, not after 10 years. You were never a burden, Daniel, she said softly. I loved you for you, not your paycheck. I know that now, he said again. But back then, I thought love meant providing a life bigger than the one we had. And when I wasn't rising fast enough, I panicked. I told myself I needed to chase success, so I could come back proud. And instead, she said evenly, you stayed gone. He nodded slowly. I did. Elaine exhaled long and deeply. Daniel, you broke me. His eyes glistened. I know. She looked away. I used to wait for you at the store. Every evening. For months. He felt a tear slip before he could stop it. I'm sorry, he whispered. She didn't respond. The clock ticked again, louder this time. Or maybe his heart was just louder. Why now? She asked. After 10 years? Why walk through my door today? Daniel gripped his knees. Because I found out something that forced me to face everything I tried to run from. Her brows furrowed. What did you find out? His lips trembled. I was wrong about something. Something life-changing. Elaine leaned in slightly. Daniel, what are you not saying? He looked at the family photos again. The children. The smiling faces. The life she built. And then he said it. I came to ask you if the boy in the picture is mine. Elaine froze. Her breath caught. The room felt as if it stopped breathing. After a long, agonizing pause, she whispered, Daniel, sit still. Because you're about to hear the truth you ran from. The shock in her voice wasn't anger. It was something deeper. And much, much darker. For a moment, neither of them moved. The air felt thick, like water, and Daniel could almost hear his own pulse echoing in his ears. Elaine's eyes were fixed on him, deep, dark, unblinking. It wasn't anger. It wasn't fear. It was something he couldn't name. "Elaine," he whispered. "Please, tell me." She rose slowly from the armchair, but not to pace or shout. Instead, she walked to the framed picture on the wall, the one with the boy and the girl standing in front of a school building. She lifted it carefully, thumb brushing over the boy's face. "His name is Samuel," she said quietly. "He's 7. Daniel's heart squeezed. 7. The math slammed into him instantly. 10 years apart. 7-year-old boy. His throat closed. "And the girl?" he asked cautiously. "Michelle. She's 5. Michael is her father." He swallowed. "And Samuel?" Elaine didn't turn around yet. She kept staring at the picture. "You really want the truth?" she asked. Her voice was steady, but it carried a tremor beneath it, like a string pulled too tight. Daniel nodded. "I need it." Elaine finally turned, holding the picture in both hands. She walked back to him and set it on the small wooden coffee table between them. The boy's eyes seemed to stare straight into Daniel's soul. Wide, bright, familiar. "Samuel was born 3 years after you left," she said. Daniel's hope shattered instantly. His chest fell. 3 years, he murmured, running a hand through his hair. "So he's not." "Sit down," she said sharply. He froze. She gestured again, firmer this time. "Sit." "Because the story isn't that simple." He sat. Elaine lowered herself again into the armchair, folding her hands neatly like a woman preparing to break open a decade's worth of wounds. "When you left," she began, "I thought I knew pain. But what I didn't know was the kind that comes after the crying stops. The kind that settles in your bones." She inhaled shakily. "I didn't date for almost 2 years. I couldn't. Every time someone asked me out, I saw you." Daniel lowered his head. "I wasn't expecting you to," he whispered. Elaine continued, ignoring his guilt. "I finally met someone 1.5 years after you left. A friend of a coworker. A kind man. Steady. Patient. He never tried to replace what you were. He just offered me peace." "And Samuel?" Daniel asked carefully. Elaine looked at him again, really looked. "I wasn't sure if I could ever be a mother. I was too broken. Too afraid. But when I found out I was pregnant," her voice softened, "I felt like God gave me a chance to start over." Daniel nodded slowly, absorbing each word like a blow. "And Samuel," he repeated. A long silence. Elaine laced her fingers together. 3 years after you left, someone knocked on my door." Daniel blinked. Elaine's next words were soft, almost fragile. "It was your mother." Daniel jerked back, slightly. "My mother?" Elaine nodded. "She told me something I didn't expect. Something you should have known but didn't." Daniel's breath hitched. His mother died 6 years ago. But she had been sharp, stern, old-fashioned, and fiercely protective of him. "What did she say?" he asked. Elaine's lip trembled, not in sadness, but in remembered shock. "She told me that the reason you left me wasn't because you wanted success." Daniel froze. His lungs stopped. "What?" he whispered. Elaine swallowed. "She said you left because she made you believe I was holding you back. That I wasn't good enough for the man you were destined to become. That being married to a black woman would make your climb harder." Daniel felt the world tilt. "No," he whispered. "Elaine, no. That can't. She said you wanted children, and she convinced you I couldn't give you the right life. She told you that you needed someone from your world." Daniel covered his mouth, trembling. She never told me she said that to you. She didn't tell you she came here either," Elaine said quietly. He stared at her, eyes wet. "What does this have to do with Samuel?" Elaine exhaled deeply. "When your mother left my doorstep, I knew 2 things. 1, you had been manipulated. And 2, I needed to rebuild my life without you ever knowing the damage she caused." Daniel felt a tear fall. "And Samuel?" he whispered again. Elaine looked at the photo. "Samuel was born from pain. From healing. From me choosing to move forward." Another pause. Then the final blow. But there's something about Samuel you didn't notice. Daniel leaned forward. Elaine pointed to the boy's eyes. The same shape as his. The same deep brown. The same intensity. Elaine whispered, Samuel is not your biological son. Daniel's heart dropped in relief and disappointment. But he looks like you, she continued, voice trembling, because he knows your name. Daniel blinked. My name? Elaine nodded slowly. He's 7 years old, Daniel. And he thinks his father is the man who broke his mother's heart. Daniel couldn't breathe. His own name echoed in his skull like a bell struck too hard. He knows my name, he repeated, voice cracking. Elaine nodded slowly, folding her hands again as if bracing herself. Yes, Daniel. He knows you. But why? Daniel whispered. Why would you tell him about me? Elaine didn't answer immediately. She looked away, toward the window where the sunlight pooled gently on the floor. The room felt warm, but her memories made it cold. When Samuel turned 4, she began softly. He started asking questions. Children always do, you know. They look at families around them and start comparing. He saw kids with their fathers. He saw Michelle with Michael. He saw people hugging and laughing and being whole. Daniel's chest tightened. She continued. One day he asked me, Mommy, where's my daddy? And I couldn't lie. I couldn't tell him a fairy tale. I couldn't say what some mothers say, that his father was a hero or a traveler or someone who loved him from afar. I just told him the truth. Daniel leaned forward, elbows on his knees, hands trembling. What truth? Elaine's eyes met his, heavy with a decade of unsaid things. That the man I loved once broke my heart so badly that I had to learn how to live again. That he left because he didn't know his own worth, or mine. That he used to be gentle and kind and full of dreams. And that his name was Daniel. Daniel shut his eyes. A tear slid down his cheek. You made me a story, he whispered. A lesson. Elaine inhaled slowly. Yes. He nodded, accepting the weight of her honesty. But then another fear clawed at him. So, Samuel thinks I'm the villain? Elaine shook her head gently. No. Never that. I didn't teach him bitterness. I taught him truth with softness. I told him you weren't ready to be a father or a husband. I told him grown-ups make mistakes. But I never, ever told him to hate you. Daniel pressed a palm to his chest. Why? Because, she said, voice steady, even after everything, I refuse to let my pain become his inheritance. Her words hit him harder than any accusation. Elaine had protected her son's innocence. She had carried her hurt alone instead of planting it in a child's heart. You're stronger than I ever deserved, he whispered. Elaine didn't smile. Her expression remained unreadable. Samuel asked me once if you'd ever come back, she said. I told him, I didn't know. That simple sentence landed like a blow. I didn't want him to hope for a stranger, she added softly. But I also didn't want him to grow up believing people never change. Daniel lowered his head. I have changed. She raised an eyebrow. Maybe. But you being here now doesn't erase 10 years. He nodded. No. It doesn't. But I'm here because something happened that forced me to face everything. She studied him carefully. You said that before. What exactly happened, Daniel? He looked down at his hands. Strong hands. Hands that built companies yet failed to hold the one thing that truly mattered. I had a health scare, he said quietly. Elaine's posture shifted. What kind? He hesitated, not because he wanted to hide it but because saying it aloud made it too real. I collapsed in a boardroom, he said. Stress. Exhaustion. But when they ran tests, they found something. Elaine's eyes softened despite herself. Something serious? Something genetic, Daniel said. Something I should have asked about. Something I should have known could affect a child. My child. Any child. Elaine's breath caught. What did they find? Daniel looked up, eyes raw. A hereditary heart condition. She gasped softly, more in surprise than fear. And the first thought I had, he continued, voice shaking, was you. And the family we never got to have. and whether I had a child somewhere in the world without knowing. Elaine looked at the picture again. Samuel isn't your biological son, she repeated gently. I know, Daniel murmured. But when I saw his face, something in me broke. Elaine's eyes softened. You came here thinking he might be yours. Yes, he whispered. And I came here hoping I hadn't abandoned a child the way I abandoned you. A silence settled again, this time full of something deeper than pain. Elaine looked at him carefully. Daniel, you didn't abandon a child. He nodded. But, she continued, you did abandon a woman who loved you. And life filled the space you left. Daniel wiped his face with a shaking hand. What happens now? He whispered. Elaine looked down at the photo. That depends on whether you came here to fix something or to be forgiven for something that can't be undone. Daniel didn't answer her question right away. His breath trembled as he looked around the living room again. Same walls, same curtains, same quiet warmth. The only thing that had changed was him, and even that felt uncertain. He felt like an intruder in a life that had grown without him. Elaine watched him closely, waiting. I didn't come here for forgiveness, he finally said. I don't expect that. I don't even know if I deserve to stand in this room. Then why are you here? She asked softly. I came because I didn't want to die with the wrong version of our story stuck in both our minds. Elaine's brows lifted slightly. That was new. He had never been vulnerable, not like this. Daniel exhaled long. When I collapsed for those few seconds, everything went dark. And it wasn't the company I saw. Not the money. Not the awards. It was you, standing at this door the day I left, crying, holding onto my shirt, begging me to stay. Elaine shut her eyes briefly. That memory had claws. I saw your face, he whispered, and I realized every achievement was built on the grave of something beautiful. When she opened her eyes again, they shined, but with control, not emotion. You can't change the past, Daniel, she said. I know, he replied, but I can face it. Elaine leaned back slowly. Her gaze softened, not with affection but with acknowledgement. So you came here to confess. In a way, he said. Confessions are easy, she said quietly. Repair is harder. Daniel swallowed. Tell me how. Elaine shook her head gently. That's not for me to decide. You're not part of my life anymore. A sharp pain cut through him, but he nodded. He knew that already. But Samuel knows my name, Daniel said softly, almost to himself. And I didn't even know he existed. Elaine sighed. He asked. I told him the truth. He doesn't think you're a villain. He thinks you're a man who made a mistake and didn't know how to come back. I didn't, Daniel admitted. I didn't know how to apologize to someone who deserved more than just words. Elaine looked at him carefully. You're apologizing now. He shook his head. No. I'm unraveling. That's different. A brief silence. Then Elaine said something unexpected. You look tired. He laughed, a short, broken sound. I am tired. Of carrying guilt. Of pretending I'm whole. Of lying to myself that leaving you was some noble sacrifice. And what truth did you finally accept? She asked. That I left because I was weak, he whispered. I let fear win. I let your skin, my family's pressure, and society's expectations convince me that love wasn't enough. I thought I needed a perfect image of success. And I traded you for it. Elaine didn't flinch. She had lived with that truth for years. When my mother came to you, Daniel continued, she should have defended you. She should have protected us. She didn't. Elaine nodded slowly. She hurt us both. Daniel ran a hand through his hair. When she died, I didn't even realize how much of her voice still lived inside me. How much fear I still carried. And when I collapsed, it all came crashing down. Elaine stared at him, softer. What exactly are you hoping happens now? Daniel shook his head. I don't know. I didn't come here to take anything from you. Not your peace. Not your family. Not your happiness. He paused, voice trembling. I just wanted you to know I understand the damage I caused. Elaine stood up slowly and walked toward a small shelf. She picked up a box, small, wooden, carved with delicate patterns. She set it on the coffee table between them. "What is that?" Daniel asked. Elaine didn't answer directly. "Open it." His hands hesitated over the latch before lifting it. Inside lay a collection of old pieces, a movie ticket stub, a pressed flower, a small bracelet, and a faded photograph of them from nearly 12 years ago. Daniel's breath caught. "You kept these?" he whispered. Elaine nodded. "For a long time, they were reminders of what I survived." His eyes stung. "But one day," she said, "they became reminders of what I deserved." She closed the box gently. "I kept them not because I wanted you back, but because I needed to forgive myself for loving a man who wasn't ready." Daniel pressed the box to his chest, trembling. "Elaine, I'm so sorry." She nodded, finally letting her guard slip just a little. "I know," she whispered. A long breath passed between them, fragile, honest, necessary. Then she said, "But the question is not whether you're sorry, Daniel. It's what you'll do with the truth now that you're finally brave enough to face it." Daniel sat with the wooden box still in his hands, as though it carried both his past and the sentence for what he had done. Elaine watched him, not with anger, not with softness, but with a calmness that came from a decade of healing. She hadn't waited for him. She hadn't prayed for his return. She had simply rebuilt her life. And yet here they were. "Elaine," Daniel said quietly, "I want to do something right. Just once." She crossed her arms lightly, not defensively, just waiting. "Right by who?" "By you," he said. "By Samuel. Even if I'm nothing to him." Elaine shook her head gently. "You're not nothing to him. You're a story, an explanation, a lesson maybe, but not a father." Daniel nodded. He didn't argue. He didn't claim rights he hadn't earned. "I know." "Then what is it you want?" she asked. "I don't know," he said honestly. "Connection? Closure? To see him? I don't mean take over or intrude. Just see him." Elaine studied him carefully. "Do you think seeing him will heal you or reopen me?" Daniel winced. "I don't want to hurt you." "Good," she said. "Because I have spent too many years stitching myself together." He bowed his head. Elaine sighed, sitting down again. "Look, Daniel. Samuel is a child. A happy one. A safe one. A loved one. His world is soft. His questions are gentle. I can't allow anything or anyone to disturb that." "I understand," he said. "But," she continued, "if one day he asks to meet you, I won't lie to him. I won't hide you. I'll let him choose." Daniel's breath caught. That was more than he expected. "Thank you." She nodded. "But that's someday. Not today. Not now." He accepted that. Still, a new question lingered. "Can I tell you something else?" he asked. Elaine rubbed her palms slowly. "If it's the truth, yes." Daniel exhaled. "When I was in the hospital, I realized something that terrified me. Something louder than the diagnosis." "What?" "That if I had a child out there, they would grow up thinking their father didn't want them. And I wouldn't be there to correct that." Elaine looked down at the floor, her expression unreadable. "That's a heavy regret to carry." "It is," he whispered. "And when I saw the picture today, I panicked. I thought I'd hurt someone who never asked to be part of my mistakes." Elaine's gaze softened, just a fraction. "You didn't hurt Samuel. I never let your shadow touch him." Daniel nodded slowly. "And you?" he asked softly. "Did my shadow touch you?" Elaine let out a long, quiet breath. "I lived in it. For years." The admission punched the air out of his lungs. "But I don't live there anymore," she continued. "Your chapter. A painful one, but a finished one." Daniel swallowed. "Finished," he echoed, voice tight. She tilted her head slightly. "You sound disappointed." "Not disappointed," he said. "Just aware." "Of what?" she asked. "That sometimes you don't get a second chance with the right person." Elaine didn't respond. She didn't need to. Daniel rubbed his hands together. "I'm not asking for one. I'm not here to rekindle anything. I just needed you to know that I see now what we had. How rare it was. How precious. And how foolish I was to think success would replace it." Elaine studied him for a long, thoughtful moment. "You grew up," she said quietly. "A little too late," he replied. She let that hang between them. Finally, Elaine stood. "Do you want to know what I think, Daniel?" "Always." "You came here for more than the boy in the picture," she said. "You came here to find the man you used to be, the one who loved without fear." Daniel stared at her, stunned by the precision of her insight. "And did I?" he whispered. Elaine gave a small, sad smile. "You found the truth," she said. "Whether it fixes you or breaks you, that's your journey." Daniel felt something settle in his chest, heavy, but real. "Thank you," he murmured. Elaine nodded. Then she spoke the words that quietly changed everything. "If you want redemption, Daniel, it starts with living differently, not revisiting what can't be undone." He nodded slowly, absorbing every syllable. "And what about us?" he asked gently. Elaine turned toward the hallway where her children's voices echoed faintly in the distance. "There is no us anymore," she said. "But there can be peace." Peace. It hit deeper than love, deeper than apology. It was a door she wasn't required to open, but she had. And Daniel breathed for the first time in a decade. The silence in the living room stretched long after Xavier's confession settled in the air. The storm had finally calmed outside, but inside the house, the storm was still finding its way toward peace. The single lamp hummed faintly, throwing a warm glow over the room that had witnessed 10 years of pain, 10 years of growth, and 10 years of unanswered questions. Amara sat still on the couch, fingers loosely clasped together, her eyes glistening yet steady. The strength in her posture hadn't left, not through his apology, not through his breakdown, not through the confession of how deeply he had once failed her. She had always been strength wrapped in grace. And Xavier, after a decade of masks and money, was only now beginning to understand how rare that was. He lowered himself to the floor, sitting across from her, his knees almost touching hers. He didn't want to tower over her. Not anymore. He needed her to see him as he truly was, a man stripped of ego, stripped of pride, stripped of the armor he had thought made him powerful. "Say something," he whispered. Amara inhaled deeply, wiped a single tear from her cheek, and finally met his gaze. "Xavier, I forgave you a long time ago." He blinked, stunned. "What?" "I didn't heal for you," she continued. "I healed for me, for my peace, for my daughter." She paused. "And for the woman I needed to become." Xavier exhaled shakily, the weight of her words loosening knots in him that money could never untangle. "Then, is there a chance we—" "No," she whispered gently, cutting him off, not harshly, but truthfully. "Not in the way you think." His chest tightened, but he didn't protest. Amara leaned forward, her voice soft yet unshakable. "You hurt me, Xavier. You abandoned me at the moment I needed a partner the most. I will never pretend that didn't change me." He nodded, tears burning. "I know. I'm sorry. I would spend the rest of my life making it right if I could." "I don't want the rest of your life," she said. "I want you to live yours better than you did before. Wiser. Kinder. More present. For your own sake, not mine." He swallowed hard. "And what about us?" Amara smiled, tired, warm, final. "We had our time. It ended. But that doesn't mean what we shared wasn't real." She looked toward the hallway where Imani slept. "And it gave both of us a reason to grow." Xavier wiped his face with both hands, nodding. He didn't argue. He didn't guilt her. He didn't try to bargain. Somewhere in him, he understood. This was the version of closure that real adults earned, through pain, through acceptance, through truth. Amara rose, walked to the kitchen, and returned with a glass of water. She placed it gently in front of him, a symbolic gesture, not a reconciliation, a release. "Thank you," he whispered. She sat beside him, close enough for warmth, far enough for boundaries. "You can be a part of your daughter's life. She deserves that. And you deserve to know her. But Xavier, you and I, we're not going back." He closed his eyes, letting the truth settle, letting it hurt, letting it heal. When he opened them, He found Amara watching him, not with bitterness, but with compassion. The kind of compassion he had spent 10 years chasing but never found in wealth, women, or the world. He nodded slowly. Then let this be the moment I finally grow up. Amara exhaled with relief. Good. Together, they sat in silence. Two people who had once been everything to each other, now learning how to be something else entirely. Not lovers. Not enemies. Not strangers. But two souls who survived each other and finally found peace in the same room where the past once broke them. Outside, the rain stopped completely. Inside, the healing began.